Namaste and welcome to New India Junction. I'm Nivedita Tiwari. Earlier during the day, the Finance Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman presented the Union Budget 2021. And to talk about the same, we have with us Ashish Chandorkar. Ashish writes extensively on public policy, politics, and economy. Ashish, welcome to New India Junction. So quickly, how should we read this budget? What is the hierarchy of priorities and how does it score? How does the budget score when it comes to growth, reforms, jobs, inclusion, and human capital?
So let us look at the context in which the budget was presented this year. We are just coming out of a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. Hopefully, it is a once-in-a-lifetime. The resources were severely constrained through the year because of the lockdown, and then the economic recovery, which took some time for the things to settle down. And now, even globally, different markets with which we trade or with which we do business, they are still not open in many cases, right? So it was a very difficult year in that sense. Now, of course, the finance minister had presented 3 or 4 different packages through the last year, which were looking at specific targeting specific parts of the economy. So this budget should be seen as a continuation of that. The way I see it is that there are 3 or 4 highlights for me, key highlights, and then we'll come to those 5 points which you mentioned. So, firstly, the good thing is that India has finally kept the fiscal deficit considerations aside. If you see the fiscal deficit projection for next year is 6.8%, and the glide path says it will go to 4.5% by 2025-26. So government has not just kept enough room to spend next year; it is also keeping enough room to spend in the years to come, in the next 3-4 years, right? So it just shows that government is no longer worried about the rating agencies, which is also a point which was presented in the economic survey which came out on Friday, that India should not worry about rating agencies' view. We should focus on what is needed for the economy. So I think that's a very good departure and a very strong statement, I think, in some ways. Also, of course, it means that government has to borrow more, and hence there'll be some work needed by the RBI to keep the interest rates low for the government. But that's a different problem to solve in the let's say coming few weeks and months. But that's a very important departure from the conventional thinking. Secondly, the whole the whole outlay on healthcare is very welcome. If you see the healthcare, budget has been increased by 137% over the last year's budgeted estimate. Government is looking at not just at creating healthcare infrastructure, which means that setting up primary, secondary, tertiary centers in urban and rural areas. It's also trying to invest in research, for example, right? So the government today said that there'll be allocations made for National Institute of Virology. There'll be satellite centers or regional centers set up. So I think that's a very good step because it is also a recognition of the fact that we live in a very complex world where some of these events of the last year can reoccur. I mean, we don't know, what is in store for us. So just not having a dependence on one NIV, but having new institutes created. The government also said that they will increase the allocation for NCDC, the National Center for Disease Control, which is, I think, again, a very strong statement of a future-looking statement, because government recognizes that healthcare and different types of issues which might come up, they need to be resolved. So we need more research and development capability in the country. So I think that is a strong statement. What happens on healthcare infra, Nivedita, is that it has also got a very important second-order effect. So, for example, when you say that we will create 3,000 of these, the wellness centers in different districts, obviously it will need medical devices, it will need medicines, it will need, healthcare personnel, right? So I think there is a secondary effect of all of that then being made in India, and of course you will need more doctors and nurses and so on. So you also open up those avenues for growth and jobs. So this is not just healthcare. This is also a very big economic impact in terms of the jobs themselves. So that was the second important point. The third point, which I thought was very critical, was the infrastructure spending. Government focused. A finance minister really talked about infrastructure in several different ways: roads, railways, ports, sea exploration, city gas pipelines, power sector. So it was a very comprehensive view of what the government will spend on. And the budget allocation for the capital expenditure has also been increased by about 36% to 5.5 lakh crores for next year. This is also very important because the government has to fund a national infrastructure pipeline, which is 120 lakh crore type of outlay on different projects. And a central budget is just one part of it. But of course, you need other ways to fund these projects. So there was an announcement on creating a dedicated financial institution for funding of a DFI to fund some of these programs, which has been a long pending demand. A DFI can essentially borrow on the same conditions at which a government borrows. So it's like a quasi sovereign guarantee. So you have lesser cost of borrowing, and then they can essentially fund some of these projects. So that is another big announcement. The finance minister also said that they will do asset monetization, which means that the companies like NHAI or Power Grid or some of the other PSUs, which hold large assets, which pay off money over a period of time, they will be monetized by creating more investment in IT structures, which is again a very positive sign. So I think the government essentially is giving a message that not only will they spend on infrastructure, they will also not raise any taxes for it. I think that was the other part. I think for most of us, for the most common people, the biggest question of any budget is what happens to the taxes.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there was no rationalization of any slabs, etc. this year, but I think it was a little, I think too much to expect in a year like this when we're just coming out of pandemic and the resources are already constrained. But the fact that the government did not, impose any new taxes, did not change any tax structures, it shows that the government wants to rely on its own sources, which means better policy making, more reforms, continuous change of processes through the year, rather than looking at direct tax as a main revenue. So I think that is a very strong statement in itself. It's a statement of intent that the government will look at its own resources rather than trying to make money or take more money from the taxpayers. So to your points, I think on the policy side, very strong statement on the divestment part. I mean, one of the ways where the government raises revenue for the budget is through divestment. Of course, we've not been able to meet the last year's very ambitious target of 2 lakh crores because obviously no divestment happened this year. A lot of the companies are in pipeline, like Air India or BPCL and Pawan Hans and so on. But I think it will take time to close those processes. It will spill over into the next year. But next year's target is more realistic. I mean, given that some of these are already in pipeline, the target next year is 1.75 lakh crores. But more than that, the government actually had a detailed policy in the budget document. If you see the next year's budget document, there's a policy which the government has put in which says that all sectors in which the government operates, they will classify them into two parts: a strategic sector and a non-strategic sector. There are 4 strategic sectors which typically deal with national security, transportation and telecom, mines and minerals, coal, etc. So there are like 4 parts to it, and of course, banking and financial institutions. Within those 4 sectors, the government will retain skeletal presence or minimal presence of CPSE, the central government-owned enterprises, and it will either privatize them or basically create subsidiaries. So they'll merge institutions, so they'll privatize some of them. For the non-strategic sectors, the government is actually saying that they will sell all the companies in non-strategic sectors, or just shut them down if they're not profitable. This is a very strong statement. I mean, of course, given how the recent reforms have attracted criticism and protests, I'm not sure how. I mean, it will certainly need a lot of political capital. I'm not sure if this can be implemented straight away. But at the same time, the government is essentially saying that we will act on, because this is now the main source for raising revenue, because they're not increasing taxes, right? So they have to actually act on it in the next coming year. So again, I found that as a very strong statement. To your other questions, I think human capital and jobs, I think it's largely covered in some of these areas. Like some of these investments, infrastructure investments, will create a lot of jobs. So I think that the trickle down of roads and railways is typically the highest. I mean, for roads, typically you say that there's a 7x multiplier effect of investments. So if the government is putting in X, the downstream investments needed in terms of cement, steel, all of that, it becomes 7x by the time the whole road project completes. So which means it creates a lot of jobs. So same for real estate. Again, government has put in extended some of the tax breaks, etc., for 1 more year to create more jobs there. Human capital through better healthcare, and also focus on implementing some of the national education policy, the new education policy which was announced last year. So that is also being taken up. So all in all, I would say that the budget scores very high on the intent for reform, the intent for policy making, and pretty good measures for bringing in human capital development across all aspects.
Thank you for joining us, Ashish, and for that comprehensive analysis. Keep watching the India Junction. Namaste.